Yeah, you told me about the chicken one. Is that, or is it another one?
That's another one.
Another one.
Okay, I mean, are we rolling?
Yes. Yeah.
A very, again, you know, music industry, music story. You remember Rick Astley?
Yeah, Never Gonna Give You Up.
Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah.
Lovely boy from Rochdale, I think. Northern lad, wasn't he? Like Lancashire boy, but a really nice kid.
Yeah.
He's #1 in the charts with Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah.
I think 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Was it? Okay.
And I arrived at work, Great Queen, so I had a cab
Yeah.
on the corner of Great Queen Street and Kingsway. And Rick Astley standing on the corner. And he'd been coming to us on a regular basis. Because Northern lad, you know, the record company brought him to London.
Yeah.
He was a big star. He had lots of #1s.
Yeah.
This like quiff that he had, but he was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
polite, really
Yeah.
nice. I'm totally unspoiled, not into anything unproven. And I saw him on the corner, and I paid the cab driver, and I said, "Rick, what are you doing?" And he said to me, "Jake, I'm really upset." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because they won't let me in." #1 in the charts at that point for 6 weeks. It was their #1 for 8 weeks in the end.
Yeah.
So I said, "Why won't they let you in?"
Where was this he was trying to get into?
At Brown's.
All right. Okay.
My fucking.
It was
club.
your place, right? Okay.
Another De Niro story.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rick, bless him, he was.
I don't know the De Niro story. You have to tell us that one after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not?
No, not yet. No.
Anyway, he was standing there waiting. He was going to get in my cab, so I said, "You're not going anywhere." So I went back and I said to the guys, "Why won't you let Rick in?" They said, "Who's Rick?" I said, "Do you listen to music?
Yeah.
Do you know what we're in? We're in the music industry.
Yeah.
This is a nightclub,
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
#1 in the charts for 6 weeks. Rick Astley." And they went, "Oh no, that's not," because they all had children that knew him,
Yeah.
but they didn't know.
Yeah.
But he was so humble, so sweet, and so like appreciative, you know.
Yeah.
So I took him in and made a point of having him stay with me all night, because he was the rock star, or he's a pop star,
Yeah.
I'm the owner, and he got so much attention.
Yeah.
Now the De Niro story with Jack Nicholson, didn't I tell you?
No, don't know. Please spill. Yeah.
Funny enough, Michael White, who recently died last week, was best friends with Jack Nicholson, and Michael White put on a play in town. Very well known, you know, in the theatre world. Very well respected, and Jack flew to London to help him promote the play.
Okay.
And during the week that he was here, Jack and I became really good friends. Jack and Jake.
The two Jack. JJ.
You know, we hung out, and
He must have been a riot, isn't it?
I mean, an absolute riot.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, at the time, he was obviously the #1, you know, sort of box office guy, and everybody wanted to be near him. I remember, whilst he was here, we had dinner in a restaurant in Kensington. Dinner for about 12 people, and I happened to be sat next to him just by coincidence. And we'd had out, and we were going on to the club after, and it was about 11 o'clock. And dessert was had, the bill was taken care of. I think Michael White was paying for it. And we went to, a girl came up who used to come to Brown's, a girl called Angelique, blonde and very attractive. And she said, obviously idolised Jack, and she knew me. She said, "Jake, can I speak to Jack for a second?" And I said, "He's right here." And you know, you couldn't help. I mean, Jack's eyes were glued on her tits. She had really big boobs, and they were real boobs looking at him and me. You know, one on each side. And she said, "Jack, would you please suck some of this ice cream off my breast?" You know, I mean, it happens to me all the time. Like,
yeah.
Next to Jack. And I said, "Angelique, what the fuck are you doing?" Right? Because I knew she wasn't a kid. She was like, you know, 30, 31, 32. Yeah. A fully formed, grown, probably mother. I don't know, but she used to come to the club. And he said, "Yeah, why not?"
What flavour?
And he leant over and she got a spoon and put it on this nipple.
Yeah.
And he didn't just suck the ice cream, he sucked the nipple too.
Yeah.
And then that bit, this one. And then she said, "Jake, would you like some?" I said, "Well, after him, no fucking way." No, but Jack Nicholson, during that period, he came to London and was going to the theatre, only Drury Lane, up the road. And I made arrangements to meet with the club early, and he was with De Niro. I can't remember what play they went to see, but I got to the club early, knowing that they were going to be there around 10:30. And sure enough, they actually left the show early and came to the club at around 10. And I was in my office, and even then we had cameras. And I saw two guys, it wasn't very clear, but I saw two guys get out of a cab, suited. Couldn't quite make out the upper part, the heads. But I remember they came close to the door, and then I saw them leave. And they held a cab, and I called downstairs out of interest. And I said to the receptionist, who just came to the door? They said, well, two guys with suits on. We had a rule then that because we were fairly close to the city, I never used to like people coming straight from the city, bankers and wankers with suits and ties on. That was something that I never approved. If you come like you are now, without, you look smart. Yeah. That's acceptable. But if you come having been in an office all day long with a tie, and it's not for my liking. Yeah. Because we were rock and roll. Do you know? Yeah. Anyway,
that's the style down there, though. I remember the road. Yeah.
But they turned away Niro and Jack Nicholson on the back of them having suits on.
Did they know who they were?
They didn't know who they were, and luckily, I mean, if I hadn't made that phone call, I'd have fallen out with Jack because, needless to say, in America, people turn people down all the time. You know, that's why. Whenever I go to either New York or LA, it's always pre-arranged, just to save embarrassment. And I'm in the industry, so I never have a problem, But they turned them away, and I called Jack. Luckily, I had his mobile number because he'd called me earlier in the day. Yeah. And I said, Jack, it's Jake. He said, Jake, what's the problem? We couldn't get into the club, and he was quite relaxed. And he was only literally at the end of the road. Yeah. He was in Covent Garden. Yeah. And I called him. I said, Jack, I'm really sorry. We've got a rule for suits, and they didn't observe who you were. Please come back. He was still in the cab. Anyway, they returned, and we went on to have a great night. But even the likes of Niro get turned away sometimes. But Jack Nicholson, if we can just stay with him. Yeah. He was.
You still keep in touch with him?
No, because our link was, with people like that. I'm not being funny. I ate with him. I spent a week with him, almost on a nightly basis. But it's Hollywood. If I've got a number for him. If I I've been in LA. I don't know, 20 times since, but it's not something you do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If I'd run into him in LA, he would. I mean, we had a screen here, but on leaving London, the final night of the show was on the Friday. It was a week performance, and if it took off, it was going to go on move on. It was at the Whitehall Theatre, I remember. Yeah. And so we had a farewell party for Jack, and it was my doing. I arranged it on the Thursday night. We went to a friend of mine's house on Cheney Walk, a guy called Robert Hanson, and there we had a scream, him and I. And it was all girl related because he's such a dog. And I said, I tell you what, Jack, you've been so hilarious to me. I'm going to throw a little party for you tomorrow night, a farewell party. Until midnight, we're going to be upstairs in the Red Room, the VIP room, and I'm going to invite people that I know that you're going to love. And sure enough, I did. Yeah. I invited, I don't know, I mean, something like between 15 and 20 girls. Jack and myself and Michael White. Music on, the settings, like Red Room. Yeah. And the girls were all thrilled because, he was a massive star. Yeah. And the girls were all there, and I'm mingling with the girls. He's talking to Michael White, just observing the quality that was there. Yeah. And sure enough, at one point, I mean, Michael, even then he was old. I mean, he's only recently passed away. He was 80 when he passed away last week. But he was dithery then, an old sort of theatre man, but his best friend. And I think Jack thought, what am I doing talking to an old boy here? Yeah. When Jake's over there with all those birds, all those bitches as he called them. Yeah. So what he did was, he then, I mean, the girls were just thrilled to be in the same room as him. Yeah. At that point, no one had spoken to him. And he came over to me, and I was in the middle of the room, and girls spread around and doing my usual, telling stories and having a laugh. And all the girls had drinks. And he came over and he goes, hey Jake, who's the movie star here? You or me, right? And I said, Jack, you're the fucking man. And the girls all heard it, and they're all laughing, giggling because the way he said it was a true Hollywood, line, you know. Yeah. And I said, Jack, you're the man. And and I, humbly sort of scurried slowly across the room to the bar.
Yeah.
And unknown to Jack, they didn't want to be with him, and one by one they followed me.
They followed you back?
They trailed me. So he stood there in the middle of the room, thinking, I'm the fucking movie star, and he's taken all the birds again. But we had a laugh about it because it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
Had we planned, none of the girls actually were comfortable staying with him because of who he was, his stature, And they all followed me, and then I brought one out again, and then the party started. But he had an early flight. I remember I took him out the side entrance so that no one saw him, because he needed to get out. He was fucked. He was completely fucked. Yeah. And he had a flight at 7 in the morning, and it was like 4:30 or something. So he was going to go back to the hotel, pack his bags, and go. But we had a great week. I hung out with him, and.
What was De Niro like when you met him?
There was something he said. Oh no, he said to me. One of the things I said to him in front of a lot of people at Robert Hanson's house. I said, "How the fuck do you get away with it? You're not 6'5". You're not a model. How the fuck do you get away with it?" And he goes, "Hey Jake, you lie to the police and you lie to your wife. That's how you get away with it." Without any thought.
That was De Niro that said that to you.
No,
Jack. That was Jack.
De Niro was a fucking nightmare because he only likes black chicks.
Does he?
Yeah, and ironically, he fancied Jeanette. The girl that I mentioned, Jeanette Khalifa.
Okay, yeah.
And she's mixed race, beautiful girl, and she was pregnant. She was pregnant at the time with, I think, maybe it was Isabella, who's 21, 22 now. And he said, like, "I've got to have her." I said, "No, you can't. She's pregnant." And there's a story for everyone, isn't there?
Talking of football.
Football, yeah.
Football. Some of your, because I've seen a few footballers down, obviously, at the Welly.
I had a football story to tell you actually, but there's lots to tell you.
Yeah.
Lots and lots. In the 90s, when Gaza, it would have been 91 or 92, I don't know, but when he signed for Spurs. Yeah. This young kid, Geordie kid, who was a genius footballer. Yeah. I later became really good friends with him. Just before the recent turmoil that he had. He came to the Wellington loads of times.
Bianca's in town, isn't she? His daughter Bianca.
I know Bianca's been too.
Yeah.
But with Gaza, when he was coming in with the Spurs lads, he was really badly behaved. The lads were all boisterous, they're all beer drinkers. They're not to my liking. Yeah. Nowadays, with the foreign, contingent that we get, the foreigners are stylish. They don't drink excessively. If they do drink, it's usually good champagne. But on numerous occasions, Gaza was made to leave for his own good because he used to go around pinching girls' arses. And you can have a laugh, you can pass by someone, touch someone, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what people do. But he would actually pinch backsides. Right. It's a northern trade, I'm told. Yeah. But one time he did it, and he did it to a girl who was with her man, her husband. Right. And someone that I know. And he said to him, "Gaza, don't be silly, it's my wife, man." Yeah. And he took no notice of him, and he went away. And just before he did it again, he would have been seriously clumped. Yeah. I stopped him. I was nearby, thankfully. But I don't know, 3 or 4 times I actually say, "Lads, take him home." Right. And they did. They always took him home. But he was totally fucking nuts. He was a young lad. He was a young kid in a sweet factory. He had no proper guidance. Jimmy Firebellies was a fucking nightmare. People. Obviously coming from a council estate or a council flat or a council house in Newcastle, having genius talent.
What did he come down with the likes of Chris Evans and Danny Baker, because they used to kick around with him a lot, didn't they? Yeah, no, they used to go. They'd spend more time in Soho, but that was, that wasn't my. I used to see him at Groucho early, and they were always fucked. I know Chris really well, but Gaza was a fucking scream. About 10 years ago, he's had loads of trouble, hasn't he? Wherever he's gone,
He was staying in a hotel, came to see me with a really dodgy guy. He was having dinner at Mr. Chow's, and this dodgy guy came over and said, you're Jake, aren't you? I said, yeah. He said, Gaz has asked me to come and see you. He said, is there any chance that we can come over after dinner, and is there any chance of someone getting us some drugs? And I thought, you don't even know who I am, you know, and you're asking me to, if there's anyone you... So I said, don't you think he needs looking after rather than getting drugs for him? Because he was in the papers almost every day for being drunk and disorderly. And they came over, and sure enough, one of the things about Gasser was he was really friendly. He was always wanting to shake your hand. You know, everyone sort of knew who he was, and men that knew football wanted to shake his hand.
Yeah.
And he would like stand and talk to you for ages. Yeah. You know, he'd ask you your name. Very, very, you know, charming young man. But the drug thing really hit him, and he was in a terrible state. I mean, he had my mobile number, and randomly he'd phone me in the middle of the night, you know, on a Sunday, and say, I need you to help me, and I'd say, Kazza, where are you? I can't help you unless I know where you are. He said, no, I can't tell you where I am, but I need you to help me. Yeah. You know, he was like gone, completely gone. Yeah. He needed my help, but he wouldn't tell me where he was for fear that I would get newspapers to go and see him. Yeah. So how can I help you if I don't know where you are? Yeah. I'm in a hotel, I'm in Mayfair. Yeah. I said, there's fucking how many hotels in Mayfair? Tell me, if you need me to help you, I'll try and help you. Because I thought he was crying for help, you know. Yeah. You know, we had a few skirmishes with Nigel Benn, you know, the boxer. All right. I kind of got involved with his career because Nigel was under the Frank Moran banner. Yeah. But Frank Moran wasn't really doing it for him, and I got I knew a guy called Ambrose Mendy, who actually played for the Browns football team, and he was a boxing man, and he said to me, Jake, if you can get Nigel away from Frank Moran, I think we can, you know, earn some money out of it, and we'll share it. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'll manage him. And Ambrose Mendy knew his boxing, and sure enough, I did. So in theory, I had 10% of the management fee, which was 20%. Okay. Under Ambrose's guidance, Nigel won the world title. Okay. And then in the early 90s, he earned it was millions. So I had a return to come out of there. Yeah. Now I remember when he fought Michael Watson, and because I was involved, my job was we had a huge marquee in Finsbury Park, and my job was to take a ringside full of celebrities. Yeah. And the amount of people that I took was 20, and the biggest, you know, celebrity at the time amongst the people that I was with was Brian May and Anita Dobson. Anita Dobson was a big boxing fan. And I took a couple of EastEnders cars, and I took, you know, a couple of models. I took a selection of people that were all famous. And I remember we all gathered here, and it was black tie, you know, these things. I had 3 limousines outside, and I remember getting really upstairs where Brian wanted to get ready, and he's got a dinner suit with clogs. It was quite funny, but we went to the show, and I didn't know Brian, like me, doesn't like violence. And Michael Watson knocked Nigel Benn out in 6 rounds, but all 6 rounds were on this side where we were. And Brian and I've got the video here if you want to see it. Yeah, yeah. We are buried. Like, he's got his mop of hair between his legs, and I've got my short hair between my legs. And we could feel the actual blood and the sweat coming onto us, you know, because unfortunately we're fucking for row 1, ringside, and we were like this, and Brian's talking to me, and I'm talking to Brian. It was like, you know, a conversation like this. I said, Brian, I hate boxing. He said, Jake, I'm doing this for you, and Anita loves it. And Anita was like, yeah. All this. And anyway, we like this because Nigel Benn lost. The best thing was to not hang around, and we had police escort out of Finsbury Park, and you know, if you go the back way, Finsbury Park to here is really quick, you know. And we came. Was it a hybrid fight? No, it was Finsbury Park. Okay. Very close to hybrid.
Yeah.
And we came back here, and Brian and I were like, fucking hell, fuck that, we're not going to do that again. But I had an interest in it, so I did it for that reason. But when we came back here, they had video, it was live on TV, and my wife had taken the video, and we were all sat there and we had some food and drinks and whatever. It was really nice. And she said, "Do you want to see the fight again?" Right? And the children were here, and we put it on, and ironically the camera is looking at us like that camera is now, and we're like this, and I've got it 6 rounds of Brian and I not looking up once. All I could see was Anita next to Brian, and I could see her fucking jumping up and down like bucking, like this. So that's a funny story, boxing story. And ironically, on the management side, I had 10% coming, and Ambrose Mendy, unknown to me, was a fraudster. He went to jail not long after that fight for serious banking fraud, and he got 7 years, and he'd had previous, unknown to me, so he served the full 7 years. And during that time I tried to correspond with him. Nigel had been beaten. Nigel was not. Nigel had claimed that he paid Ambrose. I went to Nigel for my money as well, but Nigel said that he paid Ambrose. I waited the full 7 years for Ambrose Mendy to come out, and never got a tanner, not a single penny. He said that look, Nigel never paid me, and then Nigel said he's got all the money. I'm battling against two fucking complete, both were lying to me, and I never got a penny for it. And again, what goes around comes around, because he wasn't. He served 7 years, and then he actually had a really lovely family. He did it again and got another 7. I think for fraud there was a maximum of 7 years. It might have gone up now, I don't know, but he got another 7 years. So he spent a long time in jail.
Wow.
After committing banking fraud.
14 years.
Yeah. I'd like to finish actually on a really important story, which is a football story.
Yeah.
When I first opened the Wellington in 2001, Christian played for Chelsea from the age of 11.
Yeah.
And he was in the same team as Jody Morris.
Yeah.
John Terry was younger.
Yeah.
He was younger, but what happened? Jody Morris, John Terry, and a guy called Des Byrne. I'm good with names. Des Byrne played for Wimbledon, and the two Chelsea boys. They came to the club after going. It was a Thursday after going on a celebration for the birth of Jody's child. So they went straight from Harlington to a pub. They drank all day, and bearing in mind, JT was in the first team squad, young player. So was Jody. Jody was actually in the team.
Yeah.
Christian was released. He was released at 16, having been told that he was going to sign. Graham Ricks basically said to me, "Jake, I know we said we're going to sign him. They told me at Christmas that he was going to be signed." And being a Chelsea boy, it was his dream. And they had 3 left wingers. Christian's left winger. They had 3 left wingers already signed from the previous year.
Right.
They had 2 from the previous year, and there was another one who got the nod over Christian.
Yeah.
And Graham said, "Look, we'll end up paying millions for him, but your son's got a lot of talent. We just have too many left wingers." And I accepted it. Broke Christian's heart. It really did. And and what happened when the incident occurred outside the club? Do you remember when we were subjected to that awful brawl? What happened? JT, Jody, and Des were downstairs, and they were hammered from all day, but they knew me because I used to watch them both play.
Yeah.
And I was Christian's dad, and they knew Christian, and there was a nice little link there.
Yeah.
And although Jody comes from an indifferent family, and as John Terry does, they come from odd families, and because I used to see them on the other side of the pitches, it was funny because they behaved badly at the bar, and the guy that owns EasyJet, Stelios Hadjibavlos, the guy who owns
Stelios,
EasyJet,
yeah.
Stelios. Stelios had been in, and he's not a particularly nice person, I have to say. He came in to negotiate a party for Valentine's. This was January. Yes, it was the third round of the FA Cup on the Saturday. Chelsea had Norwich away. And Stelios was, we'd spoken upstairs. I wasn't keen on him because he was just so wanted, like a man with so much money didn't want to spend hardly anything for a dinner for 20 on Valentine's night when it's like a really busy night.
Yeah.
And but I held out, got what I wanted, and then we went downstairs when the club started, and the boys were at the bar, and they were indulging in shots. They were hammered, and I wasn't happy seeing them because I knew both were in the first team squad. Yeah. It was a Thursday, and what happened? They did a shot which obviously was too strong, and they spat it, or one of them spat it over Stelios' shoes.
Huh.
He then went fucking ballistic.
Yeah.
So I got security to come down and ask the boys to go upstairs. Basically, I was going to deal with it myself.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs. I said, guys, look, you're in the first team squad. You're playing on Saturday. You've had too much to drink. Please, let's end it. Let's call it a night. And they were so lovely, apologetic to me. And as I was cajoling them, just making them go without any incident.
Yeah.
Danny Dyer, who I think is currently in EastEnders, but at the time he was reckoned to be the next Gary Oldman. Danny Dyer's an actor.
Yeah, yeah.
And he came in, and he's a bit of a looker, East End boy, but nice looking boy. And they recognised him straight away, and they asked him for his autograph, and he did. He came on his autograph. And then when he went downstairs, one of them said, "What a fucking wanker," and they tore up the autograph. Huh. So I knew that there was a potential problem, right?
Yeah.
I said, guys, please go peacefully. I want you to go because you've got careers. You're all footballers. And I said, I'll see you next time, right?
Yeah.
I then went downstairs, and I think, one of our doormen, I don't know, to this day I've not found out. I think one of our staff might have said something like, fucking Chelsea wankers, something to that effect.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they were crossing the road, they then came back, and the brawl occurred.
Okay.
That put us on the front page.
So the brawl happened outside the front door?
Outside the front door.
Yeah.
But one of our boys got a bottle in his eye. Luckily, it missed his eye, but it went round his eye. They were arrested, they were charged with a fray. Ken Bates, he's got 2 star young players that were going to make him a fortune. That's how Ken Bates would have seen it. And they got a great defence lawyer, great team. And as a Chelsea fan, as a father of a player that played with him, and John Terry was reckoned to be, and went on to become an all-time great. The last thing I want is for those boys to go in jail. But what they did, they thought they were going to jail. A fray is a serious, grievous bodily harm. And the court case was at Westminster, and I was told not to go there because for my own sake. But I went for the summary and the sentence, and they were fined heavily, and they didn't go to jail. But they went on the day with their toothbrushes and their medical bags, because that was the seriousness of it. And thankfully they didn't go to jail, but for what happened, they should have gone to jail. And I think all 3 would regret it. I've never spoken to Jody or JT since. No. Even though Frank Lamps is best friends with JT. Frank Lamps comes to the club. All the Chelsea players periodically come. Yeah. Lamps said to me, it's a shame that JT won't come here. Obviously, both doormen that were on the night are still with me.
Richard.
Yeah, Richard and Sean. Yeah. And Trevor was the other one. There was 3 at the time.
Who's the one that got the bottle?
Trevor.
Okay.
Trevor, who was actually the main one. He was the number 1 doorman. But you know what? That's probably what launched the Wellington, because it was literally on the front cover of every newspaper every day during the court case.
That's actually how I found out about you guys, because my mates said, actually that's the Wellington, and he said that's the one.
Which AT had a fight, yeah.
Well, I actually hadn't heard the story, but he said this is what happened. And then I went down, I think a day or two later, and I met you.
You've heard it now because it was, you know, Stelios.
No, sorry, I'd heard the story since, but at the time, and my friend said it, I didn't.
I remember going to, you know, the sentencing.
Yeah.
And when it was announced, I was, you know, quietly relieved. I really was, because you know the Chelsea fan in me didn't want me to go to jail.
Of course.
And by then.
Well, it sounds like you were kind of friends with them.
Yeah,
I
was.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was ironically, you know, I was hanging out. Well, you know, friends with their best friends. Like Frank Lampard was JT's best friend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we used to talk about it. Frank said it's such a shame that happened.
Yeah.
But they were young, and you know they went on to. I mean, Jody was reckoned by Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle thought he was going to be the next best thing, and if Jody hadn't had so many distractions off the pitch, because Christian played in the same team as him, and to be honest with you, without being biased, Christian was a super player. He really was.
Yeah.
Jody was a central midfield player. He was one of those sort of Billy Bremner types. He'd bite you, give it go. You know, he was not a great. You know, where Christian could get the ball and go past you like you weren't there.
Yeah.
He'd drop his shoulders and dribble past 4 players. Jody couldn't do that. He was just a
so he's more like Dennis Wise.
Yeah. He was a busy little midfield player, and I thought my son was way outdid him at the time, but obviously different positions. But obviously JT went on to have an amazing career. You know, 80 odd caps. You know, I mean, he's off the pitch issues, but you know he's had a
brilliant
career.
Life, yeah.
Maybe what happened at Wellington taught him a lesson that made him, you know, kind of buckle down and be disciplined football-wise. But when after the sentencing, I remember coming out. I was with a couple of people, and I came out, and I saw. No, ITV wanted to interview me, and I did an interview which went out at news at 6. And basically, I said what I'm telling you. I said, I'm relieved because as an ardent Chelsea fan, the last thing I would want is those 2 boys to go to jail. The injuries occurred. You know, he's recovered from them. They behaved appallingly. They behaved badly. And they should not have been at the club that night anyway, because both had a game on the Saturday, and they should have been tucked up in bed.
Yeah.
They got JT out, and they were in jail for 24 hours. And JT went with the first team squad to Norwich. I think he was substitute. But the thing is, that incident really did put us on the map. You know, for the wrong reasons, you might say, but. You know, it was at the time there was lots of activity, loads of celebrities. Yeah. And once we saw that on the front page of every newspaper, it galvanised the success that we went on to have.
Yeah.
So on that note, Mr. Tom.
Okay. Yes.
I would like to call it a day.
Cool.
And now you've got a new number for me.
Email.
When you do it,
Yes.
Please.
Yes. I have. Yeah.
I've got you a perfect license today, so that'd be nice.
Yes. Good. Thanks everyone. The end of part 2. Well, part 2.
We've got loads more, I might add.
Yeah, we've got plenty more to come.